President Lee Jae-myung, on the final day of his trip to China, is in Shanghai to meet young entrepreneurs. He's also scheduled to visit a historic building in the city that once served as one of the headquarters of the Korean government in exile during Japan's colonial rule. The world's biggest tech show, the CES, officially kicked off in Las Vegas, with this year's spotlight on physical AI, artificial intelligence that extends beyond software into the physical world around us. South Korean companies are keeping pace with this trend, including Hyundai Motor Group's Boston Dynamics, which showcased its humanoid robot, Atlas. Following the ousting of Venezuela's leader, the U.S. is reportedly preparing to meet with executives from major American oil companies later this week to discuss oil production and exports from the South American country. Meanwhile, the White House confirmed that the U.S. government is discussing a range of options to acquire Greenland, and that utilizing the U.S. military is an option. Hello and thanks for joining us on Arirang News. We begin today with President Lee Jae-myung's trip to China. The president is in the Chinese city of Shanghai, where he will meet young entrepreneurs and visit a historical site that represents Korea's fight for independence during Japan's colonial rule. He will then wrap up his 4-day state visit to China. Our Blue House correspondent Yoon Jung-min starts us off.
The focus of the South Korean leader's final day in China is the economy and history. President Lee Jae-myung will attend the South Korea-China Venture and Startup Summit on Wednesday in Shanghai, known as China's economic and financial hub, to meet young entrepreneurs in content, healthcare, and energy sectors. Later in the day, he will visit the Provisional Government Building in Shanghai, one of several headquarters used by the Korean government in exile during Japanese colonial rule. His visits coincides with the 150th anniversary of the birth of Korean independence activist Kim Gu, as well as the centennial anniversary of the Shanghai Provisional Government. The visits also focuses on the history of the two countries fighting for independence and national sovereignty in the early 20th century, which was touched upon earlier at the Yi-Shi Summit.
Amid deepening global uncertainties, the two leaders agreed to contribute to regional peace based upon their common history of working together to restore national sovereignty.
Yi arrived in Shanghai on Tuesday, where he was hosted by the Party Secretary of Shanghai, Chen Jining, for dinner. The Korean president stressed the importance of a friendly relationship between the two countries, noting the need to address negative sentiment and hate speech targeting each other's countries. President Yi is set to return home as he closes out his 4-day state visit to China that included meetings with Chinese President Xi Jinping and high-level politicians. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News, Shanghai.
Meanwhile, China has imposed rare earth and technology export controls on Japan, escalating its response to comments made by Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi about Taiwan. China's Ministry of Commerce said on Tuesday that rare earth exports of all dual-use civilian and military items to Japanese military end users, or for uses that enhance Japan's military capabilities, are now banned with immediate effect. It marks Beijing's first use of supply chain and technology restrictions against Japan. Analysts say the timing during South Korean President Lee Jae-myung's state visit to China suggests an effort to weaken South Korea-Japan-U.S. trilateral cooperation. Last November, the Japanese Prime Minister stated in Parliament that a Chinese attack on Taiwan could constitute a survival-threatening situation, potentially triggering Tokyo's right to collective self-defense. The Trump administration is reportedly preparing to meet with senior executives from major U.S. oil companies later this week. The talks are expected to cover boosting Venezuela's oil production following the ousting of Nicolas Maduro. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
The Donald Trump administration is preparing to meet with senior executives from major U.S. oil companies later this week, according to a source cited by Reuters. Tuesday's report says talks are expected to focus on boosting Venezuela's oil production following the U.S. military operation that removed Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro from power. The administration is considering a return of U.S. energy companies to Venezuela nearly 2 decades after the country's government took control of U.S.-led oil operations. The White House declined to comment directly on the planned meetings, but said it believes U.S. industry is ready to re-enter Venezuela. The 3 largest U.S. oil companies, ExxonMobil, ConocoPhillips, and Chevron, did not immediately respond to requests for comment. However, industry analysts cautioned that such plans face significant obstacles, including damaged infrastructure, political instability, an uncertain legal framework, and questions over the durability of U.S. policy toward Venezuela. Meanwhile, interim President Delcy Rodriguez announced the activation of an agro-food industrial and communal high command to protect the country's productive sectors following the attack. She also called for national unity and pledged to maintain the flow of essential goods and industrial production.
Venezuelans, let us keep working so that at the end of 2026, we can say we have fulfilled our duty as a country in national unity. We Venezuelans have fulfilled our duty. All productive sectors have fulfilled their duty to our people and our homeland. And with that, the agro-food, industrial, and communal high command is now in place.
Venezuela's Justice Minister Tarek William Saab described the U.S. military operation as a war crime, saying it was carried out without a declaration of war or United Nations Security Council authorization. He said prosecutors would investigate the incident. Separately, the White House confirmed that President Trump is also discussing a range of options to acquire Greenland, including the possible use of military force after Trump called the territory a U.S. national security priority. Greenland is a semi-autonomous region of Denmark, a fellow member of NATO. European allies have rallied behind Denmark following the remarks. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen warned that any U.S. attack would undermine NATO itself. 6 European nations issued a joint statement affirming that only Greenland and Denmark can decide their future relations. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
CES 2026 officially kicked off today. The buzzword at this year's CES is undoubtedly physical AI, marking a shift from generative software to intelligence embedded in hardware. Our Kim Do-yeon takes us to the Las Vegas Convention Center for a closer look.
Meet Atlas. Hyundai Motor Group's Boston Dynamics unveiled this humanoid robot to kick off CES 2026. It drew attention as it resembles the body of a human being, but its limbs move much more freely. The car maker is focusing on robots, specifically physical AI, as the next chapter of its business.
Robots equipped with physical AI. Robots that perceive the world like we do and work responsibly for us and with us. This is technology that is built for humanity. Technology that supports us, extends our capabilities, makes our work safer, and in some cases more meaningful.
And Hyundai also won the Best of Innovation award with its Mobed. The autonomous one can deliver items up to 47 kilograms. Another key Korean company in physical AI is Doosan Robotics. Together with Maple Advanced Robotics Inc., its Scan and Go robot won awards in both AI and robotics, the definition of physical AI. It moves autonomously and scans surfaces to identify areas that need work. Here is how the company explained the technology.
So what we're accomplishing with our physical AI is we're giving the ability for the robots to see, think, and act. So the robot is able to see with our 3D vision. So just like a person would, it's able to take a decision based on the meaningful robot movement with our physical AI that's embedded into the system, and finally do the work.
And this robot by the company is for sorting out parcels and organizing storage. I'm going to put in Arirang. Now this robot finds the block with the correct letters and completes the word. And here at CES, because physical AI requires complex hardware, component makers are also gaining attention, including companies that make the sensors or develop AI software to process data. I spoke to one company that provides the LiDAR sensors for robots and vehicles. After attending CES for a decade in smaller booths, the company finally secured a booth on the main show floor this year, citing the rise of physical AI as perfect timing.
Beyond existing cameras actually capturing 3D spatial data, I believe LiDAR is the new core of the physical AI era. In that sense, as a core sensor for physical AI, it is truly an honor and great to be able to exhibit right here in the center of the show.
As for South Korean companies, while physical AI is not yet a standalone award category, 6 South Korean companies were explicitly identified as winners in the robotics category, or for robotic solutions centered on this new technology. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News, Las Vegas.
For the first time in 7 months, South Korea's foreign exchange reserves shrank in December last year, as authorities took measures to address the weakening Korean won. Our Park Jun-an explains more.
South Korea's foreign reserves fell for the first time in 7 months in December last year due to interventions aimed at managing currency volatility. According to the Bank of Korea on Tuesday, the country's foreign reserves in December stood at just over $428 billion, down $2.6 billion from November. This is the largest December foreign reserves decrease since the Asian financial crisis in 1997. Prior to the drop, South Korea's foreign reserves had risen for 6 consecutive months from a near 5-year low of about $404.6 billion in May to $430.66 billion in November. As of late November, South Korea ranked 9th globally in foreign reserves, with China and Japan ranked 1st and 2nd. In December of last year, foreign exchange authorities in Korea issued strong verbal warnings, telling market participants to be mindful that expectations of further depreciation of the won could lead to unfavorable outcomes. Following government efforts to cool the FX market, the $1 exchange rate saw a drop. The $1 exchange rate, which hovered around 1,484 won in late December before the intervention, closed the year at approximately 1,441. Park Jun-an, Arirang News.
Korean culture has left a mark on the English language with words like Ramyeon, haenyeo, and 선배 newly added to the Oxford English Dictionary. Oxford University confirmed on Wednesday that 8 Korean culture-related terms, including 빙수, 찜질방, 아줌마, and Korean barbecue, were added this year, marking the 2nd consecutive year of new Korean entries. Experts say the surge reflects the growing global influence of K-culture, as increased usage in English language media, research, and entertainment met the OED's strict inclusion standards. Once added, these words remain in the dictionary permanently, underscoring what scholars describe as a lasting linguistic legacy of the Korean wave. And the Korean wave's popularity in Southeast Asia is boosting exports of cosmetics and food. In Malaysia, it's expected to become an ASEAN hub for Korean consumer goods. Our Cha Yun-kyung reports.
Crowds fill the Korea Brand and Entertainment Expo 2025 venue in Malaysia. KBEE is one of the most famous K-lifestyle festivals that combines Hallyu, such as Korean celebrities and K-pop concerts, with the promotion of consumer goods and services products from Korea. It is meant to integrate culture and industries, with Hallyu acting as a motivational impetus. Visitors took photos with idol stars in virtual reality and tasted Korean food. Kuala Lumpur, one of the places where the Korean wave is currently at its hottest, became the 26th host city of the KBEE. About 20,000 people visited the venue over the 3 days it was held.
The boy group, I like the culture.
I think it's a K-beauty because their product is actually our Korea product is so good.
People in Malaysia are so warm and welcoming. I guess it's part of their character.
This enthusiasm for the Korean wave also translated into export results, with contracts and business agreements worth $8.57 million concluded during the festival. Last year, Korea's consumer goods exports to Malaysia increased by 14.1% year-on-year, marking the second highest growth rate among the top 10 consumer goods export destinations, following the UAE.
We are seeing annual growth of 10 to 20%. The popularity of Korean brands is certainly strong.
With the conclusion of FTA negotiations with Malaysia last October, Korean companies are expected to accelerate their entry into the local market.
Malaysia is often called the hub of Southeast Asian countries and serves as a kind of testing ground for entering the market.
Korean consumer goods companies are expected to continue their unstoppable drive into Malaysia and other Southeast Asian countries. 차윤경, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you everything you need to know from around the globe. U.S. President Donald Trump has warned House Republicans that failing to win the 2026 midterm elections would likely lead Democrats to impeach him. Speaking at a closed-door Republican retreat in Washington on Tuesday, Trump told lawmakers they must hold the House, saying Democrats will, quote, find a reason to impeach him if they retake control. Despite his recent military action in Venezuela, he pivoted to domestic politics by claiming credit for stock market gains while distancing himself from the recent inflation. Trump urged party unity and pressed lawmakers to sell his policies on healthcare, gender issues, and election integrity, while acknowledging that sitting presidents have lost House seats in every midterm since 2006. Republicans currently hold the House by 5 seats, a margin Trump called dangerously thin, with every seat up for grabs this November. Ukraine's allies have signed an agreement to deploy a multinational peacekeeping force if a ceasefire with Russia is reached. At talks in Paris on Tuesday, leaders from 27 European countries, Canada, the United States, NATO, and the EU agreed to back Ukraine with air, land, and sea support and to strengthen its army as the first line of deterrence. U.S. representatives officially backed these security guarantees, suggesting a direct American role in monitoring peace. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky said allies identified which countries would lead security efforts on the ground, in the air, and at sea, though each government must still approve binding commitments. An Arctic freeze has brought heavy snow and ice across Europe, killing 6 people and causing widespread travel chaos. In France, authorities reported deadly road accidents and ordered trucks off highways as snow blanketed the Paris region, forcing airport closures. At Amsterdam's Schiphol Airport, around 600 flights were cancelled as crews cleared runways and aircraft amid freezing conditions. Sub-zero temperatures also disrupted transport in Britain and the Balkans, shutting schools, halting rail service, and leaving communities struggling with snow, ice, and power outages. In Indonesia, flash floods and landslides triggered by torrential monsoon rains have killed at least 16 people and left 4 missing. That's according to officials on Tuesday in Indonesia's North Sulawesi province. Fast-moving torrents of mud and debris swept away 7 homes and damaged over 140 others in the province early on Monday, forcing more than 680 residents into emergency shelters. Rescue teams recovered bodies as waters receded. Local authorities have declared a 14-day emergency response. Chu Ji-hyun, Arirang News.
Morning commute was rather comfortable, but chilly winds will pick up as the day goes on, with a much colder evening commute expected. And by tomorrow morning, there will be a sharp drop in temperatures, feeling more like minus 14 degrees Celsius here in the capital. So an extra layer of clothing is a must for tomorrow. Meanwhile, the East Coast remains very dry with no significant precipitation in sight. Dry weather advisories remain in place for parts of the capital area and eastern parts of Korea, with dust levels rising at times. Strong winds will also continue, increasing the risk of wildfires. Please be extra careful with fire safety. And as colder air moves in later on, daytime temperatures will not rise that much. Seoul will stay around 1 degree, Daejeon topping out at 5 degrees under mostly sunny skies, while Jeju could see continuing rain or snow through the afternoon. And speaking of which, winter rain or snow is expected in central regions on Saturday.
Now that's all we have for today's noon edition of Arirang News. Thank you for watching. We'll be back shortly with our special live coverage of President Lee Jae-myung's press briefing on the summit between South Korea and China at 1 p.m. Korea time. Stay tuned.